For a 10-run rule, that certainly didn't feel like it. It was a grueling game. That's a good team over there that grinds out a lot of good at-bats. But our guys battled today and grinded out at-bats as well. Came up with big hits. Carlone wasn't as sharp as he normally is, but again, tip your hat to those guys. They made him work for every single pitch that he threw. Had a really good two-strike approach against him today. T-Pen, outstanding job. I don't know if people really realize how long he had been hot in that game, all the way really from the top of the fourth inning until he came out and had a lot of long innings from our offense where he had to sit and regroup and come back out and fire it back up again. So hats off to T-Pen for doing a phenomenal job with staying locked in as long as he did. Offensively, that was one of the better approaches we've had all year long, I thought, from top to bottom. Guys just grinding out at bats, getting base runners, putting pressure on them, to make pitching decisions and moves. And then, of course, the big hits. Landon, we can talk about him all night if you want, but he just continues to swing the bat great. Contradas, nice to have him back in the lineup doing his thing. Just overall, top to bottom, a great performance. Harry doesn't get up there with guys on base if the guys at the bottom of the lineup aren't doing their job and getting on base. So hats off to those guys too, and just an overall real exciting, fun game and big win for our guys.
You just touched on it a little bit, but Cole Carlone, eight hits given up, 4 1/3 innings. There were a lot of deep counts. What was it about West Virginia's kind of offensive approach that led to those deep counts and peppering the ball around the field, do you think?
Well, I think you can just tell that it doesn't matter who's on the mound. They have a very disciplined approach where they're very good. That's probably the best two-strike hitting team that we've faced all year long. I think they make an adjustment. They shorten up, stay inside the baseball, and then they battle. And make you work for every out that you get. And it's just grueling and exhausting from a pitching side of things. And those middle lineup guys, for them, man, they don't. They have a great approach with what they're doing. So again, they make you work for every single out and make you think about every pitch that you're going to throw to them. And it was, it's a grueling game, and it's going to be a grueling series.
When your leadoff batter comes up to bat 3 separate times with the bases loaded, what does that just say about the talent of this batting order from top to bottom, even 7, 8, 9?
Well, I think you're just talking about today too, right? And I think if you look over the stretch of the season, that Landon's come up with the bases loaded a lot of times, already, and hopefully we can keep doing that and setting the table for him. But it's been different guys down there, 6, 7, 8, 9 at the bottom of the lineup, and we were rotating our lineup quite a bit and getting guys in there and giving guys different opportunities, and they just keep getting on base, when the right time happens and they're able to put together good at-bats. I think the at-bat that goes unnoticed is Brody Briggs' at-bat there in the 4th inning. I think he fought off 7 or 8 pitches and had a 10 or 11 pitch at-bat, worked a walk, then that just kind of took the soul out of that kid. You could see it, and McGarry gets a 4-pitch walk, and then they bring the lefty in for Harry, and he does what he does. So just a special offensive inning for our guys. That was outstanding.
To go back to Cole, you talked about how he battled. He's grinding through some stuff. But to have 7 strikeouts and just 1 walk. But even after they got hits, to just lock back in on batters, what were you seeing from him after, with his response?
Well, there was all high leverage pitches too. The leadoff guy got on all 4 innings, or 3 out of the 4 at least, where he had to continually work with guys on base, continuously, and they were all high leverage pitches, which we didn't. Once we started getting them up there in the 80s, we were thinking about getting them out of there, just because every pitch was guys on base and high leverage. So, getting that leadoff hitter is important, for that reason alone. But they, again, credit them. They did a good job with a good approach against him, and made him work for every single out that he got.
What does new Contradas coming back, and how does that improve the offense as a whole?
You see it. It stretches our lineup out quite a bit, and is able to put when you're putting Austin Rolig down, at 5 when he's been at 3, Toigo, those guys are all intertwined in there and can go anywhere from 2 to 7 or 8. Those guys are all kind of interchangeable, really, based on who's swinging the bat well, and he just adds another dynamic to what this offense can do, and what he can do for us. He's still, not running full speed, and that's understood amongst us as a staff and as a team that he gets a hall pass for not running 100% down the line right now. We want him to be very smart about it, but just having his bat in the lineup has just been huge.
Do you feel like you've had depth like this before since you've been here? On both sides of the ball?
No.
What allows you to, what allowed you to have this kind of depth this year?
Sam Peraza did a phenomenal job recruiting last summer, and our staff in general, but Sammy's the head of our recruiting and did a magnificent job of identifying talent and that was in the portal and bringing in guys that filled in our holes that we lost, along with, again, freshmen that we brought in that are having to wait their turn a little bit here, but just being able to replenish those guys and our whole staff, not just Sam. It's guys that are not noticed, the Sean McSheffreys, of course Jeremy Accardo and the main guys, Goffey and Jason and Dan Jaffe. All those guys are working tirelessly when that portal opens to really try to fit guys that are going to fit our culture, as well as give us an athletic, dynamic offense and pitching staff. So that's just a lot of hours that are behind the scenes that obviously people don't see, and nor would I expect them to know or see, but that's our job. But sometimes your coaches need to be credited for the job they do, and in this case, Sam's the head of our recruiting, and he did an outstanding job bringing these guys in.
Beyond the depth, how has this team matured over the last couple of years? What's the biggest area of improvement for you guys as a program?
I think just the attention to things that we're coaching. As years go on and seasons go on, I get more confident in what wins games and what loses games, and what to try to avoid, and areas that we have to sharpen up that may not seem like a big deal, but they are a big deal. The offensive approach, just continuing to solidify that. What we're trying to do from a pitching standpoint, a defensive standpoint, limiting the extra outs and limiting the free bases. All the things that we kind of knew but now have seen it firsthand win us or lose us games as a result. Things we do on the bases that are important. Just so as an overall staff, just developing and getting to know the college game more and more, and really what wins games at the end of the day, and what type of players win games, I think is really important.
With the attention that Landon and Cole have brought as homegrown talents, what impacts have you seen from the local recruiting with those two guys being Arizona natives?
Well, I hope the guys that passed on us are seeing what we're doing, and that's not a knock to them, but there's something special going on in Tempe, and we have a phenomenal program, a historical program. Things are going in the right direction. I've said it before and I'll say it again, we have not arrived by any means. We have a lot of work to do, but you can see that homegrown talent does phenomenal things here in Tempe, and the guys that have passed on us to go elsewhere, they'll learn, they'll start learning real quick that this is a pretty special place to play. And for the guys that go elsewhere and then come back, and you see what the Derek Schaefers of the world are doing, those type of guys, the Cole Kleckers that had left respectfully when we were early in our tenure here, and they were waiting to see how this thing was going to shape up, but have now come back, and the experience that those guys have had, and the things that they've said, like, man, this this would have been great to be here, for longer than a year or whatever. But I think bottom line, we just keep doing our job, keep preaching what we're preaching, and keep going out and believing in with what we're doing as a staff, and recruiting the right type of players that we believe in, and the rest will take care of itself. I think the local talent is will ultimately want to stay here.
Going back to talk about the obviously passing the bat, doing your job. I know I've asked you before, but I mean 3 straight innings where you bat around. What's the electricity like in the dugout when you're doing that 3 straight innings?
Well, I mean, it's just I want to say becomes an expectation, but it just goes. I mean, they have some really, really good arms over there. It's not like we're doing this against chumps. I mean, these dudes are they're running it up there, and they got good sink, they got good breaking balls. But hopefully it's a indication of when they stick with their approach, or we stick with what we're trying to do, that we can wear really good arms down and put base runners on base and give us opportunities to score runs. And like I said, tonight was, with the competition that we faced tonight, this is the best approach we've had top to bottom throughout a game all year long. Hopefully we can build on it and keep going forward. Like I said, they ran out some really, really good arms that have dominated so far this year. And you know, just seeing them come out of the pen just from the side, you can see the movement that some of these guys have on their ball. And we did a really, really good job of sticking with our plan for the most part.
Going back to Cole Carlone, this is 2 starts in a row now with 5 innings or less and 3 earned runs given up. Just what do you expect to see from him next time he goes out there and bounce back or bounce forward?
I don't get overly caught up in what he's doing as far as on the negative side. All I know is that kid's out there competing every single pitch. He's developing as a pitcher every time he goes out. You know, he threw some really good changeups today, for a couple of them for strikeouts. And again, there's times where you got to say, okay, that offense is pretty good. And I would say that today about West Virginia. They got a really good, disciplined offense, and they're very well coached, and they aren't going to give in. And sometimes that makes your starter get taxed a little bit, you know. So I'm not looking at his outing as a negative by any stretch of the imagination. I thought he did a great job in competing and limiting damage when he had the opportunity, when they had runners on. So he just continues to evolve as a pitcher. He's going to have some ups and downs just like everybody, but would I expect of him on his next start to go compete the way he's been competing?
Heading into the season, you said that Landon was a pure hitter move, and see that power that he was there. From your perspective, what has just been the switch in, or the switch that was flipped for him?
I don't think there was a switch that was flipped other than he's just gotten more physical and more mature. Saw it in him last year. Kid's a special talent, can flat out hit, and I've said it time and time again. There was guys last year, Toby and some other dudes that Compton would rib him about, you know, not being able to hit for power, and I'm like, well, you guys just shut up and let him just hit and quit getting in his head and get him to try to hit for power, because he's going to. It's going to come. And like I said, a year older, a year more mature and physical, and the doubles and singles and doubles are now doubles and homers. So, yeah, he continues to be very good at bat to ball, and he's getting a lot of extra force behind it, and exit velos and all the stuff that everyone loves to talk about. It's just they're off the charts.
It was earlier, they have to, I mean, obviously the bottom of the order has to get on base, but I mean, to tie the program grand slam record, being a 4, 3 layers before they announce it, but to tie a 4 and have this much time to break that record, like, how insane is that?
No, I don't think I don't care so much about the record, and I'm sure Landon probably doesn't either. It's a result of good at-bats and sticking to your approach. So I've said it before, you can't go up and try and hit home runs. Those are a result of just consistently good swings, and that kid's probably got the most consistent swing of anybody that I've, you know, I haven't coached for years and years, but over the 5 years that I've coached, that's the most consistent swing that I've ever been around. And as a result of just being consistent over time, you're gonna run into some balls and hit homers. So I don't anticipate, if he continues to have opportunities with the bases loaded, I don't see much changing. So.
Before the season started, you talked about how you wanted to load that 1 week with that tough SEC opponents, how you wanted to get ready. Now you've won 3 straight ranked games, you're 20-6. What type of impact do you think that non-conference schedule had on your season so far?
I think it's been good for a variety of reasons. I think early on, if you go play those caliber of teams, win or lose, you learn a lot about who you are and where you have to get to. If you win those games and win a majority of them, you come home going, hey, yeah, we're in pretty good shape. But if you don't, and you're right there, like in most of those games that we were, you know, the A, we're right there, so the confidence should be there. B, there are things that we got to sharpen up and get ready for when we play the next good teams. And hopefully sometime down the road, we'll get to face those teams again, and we'll be better prepared. And those are, you don't get exposed and you don't find out what you have to work on until you play against those type of teams. You know, like I said, we could play a very weak schedule if we wanted to and not find out how good we are until we get to conference, and then we get our teeth kicked in, and then have to adjust on the fly. Well, playing that early tough schedule allowed us to find out, hey, we got to get better in these areas. And it's early enough to we can make those adjustments and improve upon what we have to. So I think that was extremely valuable. I would imagine, you know, moving forward, that was something that I always like to do, is play at least one weekend where it's going to be really challenging for our guys before we start conference play. Because if you come into this conference unprepared, you're gonna have a long year.
Last question. You spoke about the depth of this program, but like, what did it say to lose 9 guys to the draft last season and have as much depth as you did saying on this team? What's it say to the program?
Just kind of like I said, I think that goes back to the job the staff did and acquiring the players that we did, and in the manner that we acquired them. We haven't gone out and bought our roster. We went out and again, this is a tribute to our administration for giving us a full allotment of scholarships. That's been extremely, extremely helpful. But when you compare apples to apples out there with what we're up against, it magnifies the job again that Sammy and the rest of the staff has done, because we don't have the money bags to go out there and buy our talent. We're going out there and working for it and getting them, and these kids want to come here because they know they're going to become better baseball players, and they're going to make their money in the long run in the draft. So that's a tribute to, again, the type of players that want to come here for the right reasons. They see what we're doing from a development standpoint, and they see that the draft history and just our 4 short years here of, you know, 28 guys drafted in 4 years. We're rolling our guys up to the ladder pretty good. So I look for that trend to continue.